Hey guys, so we're starting work on the loft, and so what we've been doing here is getting that back wall laid out because all of the beams that make up the loft floor are going to have pockets in that wall to support one end of them. We've got this beam here on the floor. This is actually going to be the wall between the bathroom and the dining room, and this beam actually is going to carry the upstairs loft beam, and so you can't just put a point load down on the floor. You've got to put basically a beam in your wall, or make your wall into a beam. So we've opted to set this on a post inside that wall, and then over here it comes over and it sets across our bearing beam, which has a post directly under it. And so that way, when our post comes down to support the loft, we've got a place for it to sit instead of putting one point load on the floor. Over on the other side of the loft, the beam is actually going to go in the floor because that post will sit right on top of an interior wall. This one isn't over an interior wall, so we didn't have that support under there, or no place to put the beam up under the floor. So yeah, so as you've been seeing, we've been working on getting stuff cut out of the other wall so we can make beam pockets, and yeah, just hopefully you enjoy it, and we're gonna hopefully get the loft up here in the next few days, so we're looking forward to it. So we've also got behind that nailer there's another 4x8 beam on top of this wall, and it's supported on this end. And down at the bottom of this post that also supports the beams, this bears directly onto our pony wall in the foundation. And then this side also bears on a pony wall that's sitting on the exterior footing. And the reason that we were able to put this one over the wall, because that post lands right on top of this interior wall. And on this one, we are somewhere in this neighborhood, almost on top of this joist with our other wall. So our upstairs wall for the bathroom doesn't line up with this downstairs wall, so we've got that post in the wall there to support one end of that beam at the top, and then that comes over and actually sits on our beam here, which again bears on this post in this wall, and that sits on top of our pony wall. Okay guys, so we've got one beam up, and we had a little camera issues, so we didn't get the whole ending process. We went over and the camera was off. It's single digits. You probably can see our breath on the camera. So the batteries don't last very good out here. And like I said before, this beam is going to be part of the wall that goes here. So we're tight up against the rafters on the back side. So that's this side. We've got all of the pockets or posts basically in the back wall. You can see them sticking up. So there's 5 floor joists, beams, or 4x8 beams that go back there, and then we got the other pocket over there for the big beam. And then across the front, you can see that beam in the back. That's a little bit bigger. That one spans across the whole front. All right, guys, so we got beam number 2 up, and this is going to be our exposed post. So this one doesn't get hidden in a wall. So we've got our metal post bracket, and those are put in with the structural lag screws. And then that's our rough cut post. And we got our beam. And then we've also got our brackets to carry the front beam installed on both sides. And so today we're going to be working on cutting the big beam that goes across the front. It's a little over 22 feet long, and it's a 6x14, so it's a big bad boy. And we won't be able to lift this one in place like we did the other ones. This one we'll have to support from the rafters, and we'll have to use come-alongs to get it up because that's what we've got. And so this one, we did have a little bit of an issue yesterday when we were getting it situated. Before we were actually trying to lift it up, we had this end set up in the pocket, and then the other end was on a ladder. And luckily nobody got hurt, but this end dropped out of the pocket. And so now we have a nice spot in the floor to fix, which won't be a big deal, but we're just happy nobody got hurt. Anyway, some of those things that can happen, and unfortunately we don't have anything to tie off to up at the top as far as tying the beam so it can't come crashing down. But I think the kids all learned something from that experience, and I don't think we'll repeat it. So anyway, having this one going up using come-alongs should be helpful. So pretty excited to get to this point. Once we get this big beam up, then that'll allow us to get the floor put on. Obviously, we got to get the floor joist beams put in there and get that all done and get the deck on. And then we've got these 4x12 beams here that'll be used for the stair stringers. So lots of stuff going on. Once the loft is done, we'll get up here and start getting the beams put up there in that area, get the old furnace pulled down, all that good stuff. So lots still more to go, and we're getting excited though, getting some movement here. So. All right, guys, there she is. We got her up last night when it was dark, and unfortunately, yesterday when I got up at 6 in the morning, it was 2 degrees outside, and our equipment, camera-wise, doesn't do good when it's that cold. The batteries, which I guess is pretty typical for rechargeable batteries, but the batteries basically drop down to worthless, and even though they're fully charged, they don't act like they are. And so our camera went dead last night before we could finish getting the footage here. But everything went good. We got the big beams up there, or the big beam up there, and you can kind of see how our support system is going to work. Those side beams are bigger than the floor joist because they are cantilevered. and so they hold the front beam up, and then the front beam free spans across the whole thing. So now today we got to get all these straps and chains off, and you can see they're all loose there. And then we got to go and start putting in the floor joists, which sit in those wall pockets. And we opted to center the beams in the kitchen. So you can see the two pockets up there above the windows. Those are centered on the windows, which will basically, our whole kitchen is kind of centered where those windows are. So that will, it'll look nice when you first walk in, because this is all open to the great room behind us. And then back here, it doesn't matter as much, so we're keeping the spacing, the 4-foot spacing. But back here's the dining room, and you know, that beam that we set the post on over there is where the wall of the bathroom will be. So this will be the dining room back in here, and so that won't be open. That won't be the first thing you see. So we just wanted it to look symmetrical when you walk into the kitchen. So we opted to lay, instead of centering the beams in the loft or the floor joists in the loft, we opted to start here and lay them out in each direction 4 feet. So we're going to get to work today. So hopefully we get a little bit more footage. Today's about 27 degrees right now, and it's snowing, so hopefully we get a little bit more footage than we have the last couple days. So what we have to do now is, I'm laying out this end. We have all those pockets on that wall set up where we want them, and I'm laying out this end. And one thing that I want to do is make the joists as square as possible. So basically when we put these side beams in, we put them up and we pushed them up against the rafters. And now the rafters, you know, depending on which rafter you look at, there's various degrees of on. And so like this beam over here, it hit quite a ways further back than the other side did. And so I don't think the beam is probably square with the, you know, maybe any of the walls, or possibly even square with this front beam. And if you remember before, the front wall and this side wall over here behind you are where the square corner was, and so I've laid everything out off of that. So the face of this big beam is parallel to that front wall. It's not parallel to the back wall, and it's not perpendicular to either of the sides. So we went with the front wall as our basis for laying out the beam. So I just want to try to get these floor joist beams in as square as possible. The end ones don't matter so much, but you know, when you walk in, I want it to look. I don't want it to look horrible anyway. So we got to see where we're at and go from there. Okay guys, so we've gotten this floor done as you've seen, and we've also got the stringers in, and this was the plan when we redid the configuration of the stairs. This is the plan that we came up with, and there's a lot of complexities here. One of them being, first of all, we wanted to keep the space to a minimum and try to make it so the stairwell didn't take up too much space. The way it was last time before we did this renovation was the stairs came up here and up over this way, and so this whole area and then underneath the loft was like a hallway to come up to the second floor. Now we've made this area into a bathroom, so we've utilized that space in a better way, we think, by doing the stairs this way. And it took me a long time to figure out how I wanted to reconfigure the stairs. And then we have this little landing here at the top of the stairs that serves as a landing for the second floor, and then also as a landing to go up to the loft, which was these open stringer stair version, which we like. It looks like it matches pretty good with the loft motif with the open beams. But there was a problem, and I didn't realize it until later. So one of the things that you gotta have is you gotta have 6 feet 8 inches of head clearance. Basically, if you were going to, you basically take a straight line, like say the top of this stringer, but a straight line that basically touches the nose of all of your treads on your stairs, and it has to be 6 feet 8 inches above any point. Well, when we come down here, our first stringer is perfect, and then I even set this stringer in and screwed it in from the bottom before even realizing that I failed to account for the fact that these stairs go up. And so the front stringer is good, but this stringer you can see my line right here. That is actually the 6 feet 8. That's a little bit higher than what we have to have. And you can see where we're at down here. So it took me having to walk up the stairs and realize I was ducking to go into that stringer before I realized what my issue was. So it's kind of annoying. I've got ideas of what I want to do. I'm pretty sure what I'm going to do to fix it. Some of the stuff that you come across when you're doing renovations is this kind of thing. It's hard for me not to get down about it. That's just how I am. But there's a lot of hard things to think through and coordinate. This is one of those things when you've got multiple levels with different staircases. It's been a long time since I've actually done construction on a regular basis. It's usually just been projects here and there since before when I was in construction. And stuff like this tends to slip by, but there's a way around it, and there's probably multiple ways around it, but we can get this all figured out and we can move on. There's a lot of coordination stuff that has to do with your plumbing and where you route pipes and vents and framing, all that kind of stuff. So there's a lot to consider when you're doing a renovation. But I think we're going to leave you there at the end of this video here. So watch the next one and we'll show you what we're going to do and how we're going to fix this problem. It's mostly just a time setback more than anything. Takes up a little bit more space than we wanted, but it is what it is, and so we need to get it fixed. And but we thank you guys for watching, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the content you're seeing, and go ahead and subscribe and hit the like button and share this video around and the whole series around with people you know. And we really appreciate you watching these, and we're going to keep them coming so till this thing's all wrapped up and done. So appreciate you watching and sticking around, and we'll see you next time.